from the News Channel 5 Network and Urban League of Middle Tennessee. This is Urban League Live.
Hello, Middle Tennessee, and welcome to Urban League Live. I'm your host, Clifton Harris, President and CEO of the Urban League of Middle Tennessee. The Urban League of Middle Tennessee is dedicated to serving underserved populations across our region. One of the major issues plaguing our populations that are considered underserved is a lack of affordable housing options. In fact, recent findings from our State of Black Middle Tennessee report shows that Nashville residents are extremely burdened by housing costs. More than 30% of their income goes towards housing, and over half of the employed population earn less than a livable wage. The report also reveals that 57% of low-income Nashville families feel excluded from the city's growth and prosperity. To make matters more alarming, Nashville has the highest poverty rate amongst its peer cities. That's why the Urban League of Middle Tennessee is constantly working to combat these issues through our R.E.D Academy program. Here to discuss more about affordable housing in Nashville is R.E.D Academy Program Director Aron Thompson and our Vice President of Housing and Economic Development. So, Aron, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're going to jump right in because we want to make sure that everyone gets all the information that we want to talk about. So
Sure.
we want to begin with affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, and what does that look like when we talk about housing options in Middle Tennessee?
Simple answer, Clifton, is that there's no really affordable housing crisis. What we have is a housing crisis. It's what does the house cost and what can people afford? And so the biggest issue is how can we get people that have a scale or a livable wage to be able to pay for the housing unit that they want to live in.
So it's a wage issue first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Then it becomes a housing issue.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because we know that if people are able to solve their housing crisis, truly at an affordable wage, then they can help solve a lot of the other ills that are happening in their life, whether it be childcare, transportation, education costs, healthcare costs, whatever they are. So for us, that's the biggest issue that we try to help tackle.
Yeah, so when we talk about 30% of a family's income going towards housing, that's a cost burden.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's hurting so many Nashvillians. You spoke to those numbers earlier in the broadcast, and what we found is that a lot of those individuals are people that have been here in Nashville, have experienced the boom happening around them, but hasn't happened for them.
Wow.
And so what can we do to kind of help those individuals help solve some of those easy issues, which is affordable housing?
Yeah, because that 30% is just pure housing costs.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with maintenance and insurance and all the other things that has to happen. And so a family could end up being 50, 60% of their income going just to support housing, and that's not affordable for anybody, is it?
Not at all, not at all. And we know not just having an issue with the housing costs, but if you're a homeowner, right? And let's say, your water bill went up, or electricity in the summertime because we're facing issues with the weather.
Yeah.
That goes up. So now your house costs just went up just that much more. And those are easy things to fix. But can you fix them if you're not even making the right livable wage for the unit that you live in?
Right. So I always say when it comes to buying a house, as it relates to affordable housing, we don't go buy cars and say, I'm going to go buy an affordable car. We
Absolutely.
go buy the car that our income can afford, right?
Absolutely not.
And so we got to buy the house that our income affords.
Absolutely not.
And so when we talk about housing that is affordable for, say, teachers and police officers and our first responders, folks, what does that look like for them in the urban core, or do they have to move beyond the urban core to find suitable housing prices?
Sure. So we always try to use the term AMI, which stands for Area Median Income, right? Which basically just says of the people in Middle Tennessee, what is the cost that people make on a regular basis of wages? And so you take that aggregate over everybody and you try to say, okay, here's how much it costs to live in Nashville, Davidson County. And we know it's somewhere north of $70,000 that it takes. And that's a lot. And we know that everybody's not making $70,000 or more. So then we look at that and we say, okay, where are the homes, the houses, the units, wherever you want to live, where are they located so that you can actually live there, but also work there too, right? The last thing you want to do is find a place to live that may be in, another county, and you have to drive 50 and 60 miles one way just to get to work.
And then when you get to wherever it is to work, if it's downtown, you got to pay the parking as well.
That too.
Right? Plus the gas costs.
That's true. And that's assuming that you have a vehicle.
That's assuming you have a vehicle.
Right? Yeah. So turn that narrative around and say, hey, what if there was housing here that I could afford? What if there were units here that I could afford? If I'm a teacher, if I'm a firefighter, if I'm a police person, whatever that occupation is, that I can actually afford to live here, right? And that's reasonable for the cost that I make already in the job that I do. And then I can help solve either transportation, whether it's riding WeGo Transit, whether it's walking or biking. Now with the new initiative, we're going to have better sidewalks and streets and roads for people to get around on. So how can we leverage those so that people are able to actually get to where they're supposed to? And that's one of the things that we look at in generality here in Davidson County.
I'm just looking forward to the synchronized lights, so I don't have to stay in traffic all the time. But when it comes to housing affordability, there's new techniques, and I see developers taking one lot and putting multiple houses on that one lot in order for the house to be attainable for individuals. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So what a lot of times people look at, and when they think about housing or just new housing coming into their area, doesn't matter if it's market rate, affordable, whatever you want to call it, what happens is that you understand, or hopefully most people understand, that we need more growth in the city. Yes, there are people that are being displaced by the growth, but what we realize is if we have more growth, it should then spread out evenly amongst everybody, so everybody kind of rises together. And so what happens is you look at a lot or a piece of land and you say, wow, this is in a nice neighborhood, or this is in a decent neighborhood, right? And it has access to all these amenities, and I want to be able to put something here. What you realize is that just the cost of the land itself says that in order to make this work, I need to put more than just one house here, or one unit, or one building here, right? And so what does that look like that you don't disturb the neighborhood too bad? You talk with the neighbors and understand what their pinch points are, but able to actually put something there that's going to help the neighborhood grow, but also be, but also be a good design and actually fill the void and the need, which is people able to actually have a house in that neighborhood.
That's good. That's good information. We're going to pause right here, and when we come back, we're going to pick it up with real estate development. Okay?
All right.
So when we return, we'll talk more with Aron Thompson about the growth in real estate developing and what's happening across the city. Welcome back to Urban League Live. I'm joined by Aron Thompson, Director of the R.E.D Academy program for the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, to discuss the growth of real estate development in Nashville. Aron, just before the break, we were talking about what is affordable and what is not affordable. What is the median income for housing here in the Nashville metropolitan area?
Sure. I just read an article not too long ago that spoke to some of the stats around housing and housing costs here in Middle Tennessee. So it started in 2013. The median home price was $191,000. By 2022, that grew to $365,000. And by 2023, that grew to $430,000. And so we are in 2025. So it didn't go down. Correct?
It didn't go down. Everything seems to be going up. Nothing's coming down.
Nothing's coming down. And on top of that, think about this. This is not just a Nashville or Middle Tennessee problem. northwest of Knoxville, small county there, 7,000 population. The median home price in 2013 in that county was $69,000.
Wow.
In 2023, the median home price is $140,000. So this is not a Middle Tennessee problem. This is a Tennessee problem.
It's a Tennessee problem,
Southern
a nation problem.
This is a nation problem. Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. So as a developer, though, so I got to build a house where I can get a return on my investment,
Sure.
right? And everything seems to be going up. The cost of materials, the cost of land, everything, as those prices that you just quoted, everything is going up, nothing's coming down.
Yeah.
So how do developers look at real estate development? I think you used to say something about, you got to love the project.
You gotta love real estate and like the deal.
And like the deal.
And like the deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So one other thing that you mentioned too, when you think about affordability, like there's no such thing as an affordable 2x4. Right, the cost of material is the cost of material, and
Right.
even if there was, do you really want to buy it?
Right.
Right. So you have to look at that and say, okay, what is it I'm really trying to accomplish? And at the end of the day, what we found is there are a lot of people here in Nashville that want to help solve this problem. They want to help put quality, affordable housing back into the market here in Nashville, Davidson County. They just need the tools. They need to understand what the resources are and opportunities in order to make those projects happen. And so we're happy to be able to have a program like R.E.D Academy that can help those emerging developers do that at scale and solve problems that they've been experiencing for well longer than this program ever existed. So we're just happy to be a part of that initiative and provide those opportunities for those individuals.
So you mentioned tools. So what do those tools look like? Because you can't use a hammer for everything.
No, you can't.
Right?
You can't.
I used to try and tell that to my children. The hammer don't solve everything. There's certain tools you have to use to fix a particular problem. So what are the tools that real estate developers need in order to solve and address this problem?
Sure. So you start at the highest level that we normally use, which is the state level. THDA, Tennessee Housing Development Authority, has what they call LIHTC, low income housing tax credits, that they're able to disperse out to developers that are doing projects of scale and size around affordability. So that's number one.
That sounds really technical and
it's a lot of acronyms.
Okay.
It's a lot of acronyms. I'm gonna throw some more out there, so hopefully everybody's paying attention. There's also CDBG dollars, Community Development Block Grant dollars. There's also TIF dollars, Tax Increment Financing dollars. So these are all tools in the toolbox in order for developers to use in order to do housing. Because again, if you are going to be able to subsidize the housing costs for people that can afford to live there, then again, there's no such thing as an affordable 2x4 or brick or whatever it may be. So you need to be able to get your costs down so that you can then pass that on to the end user. In this case, it will be the new residents of your facility. And so those tools for the state level, those tools at the local level, luckily we have great tools here in Nashville, like the Barnes Fund.
Okay.
That is grant dollars that go back into the market that help affect more affordable housing here. Developers are able to use those dollars in order to build those housing units that are desperately needed. And those are grant dollars. As long as you're doing affordable housing for percentage AMI or below, those dollars are warranted and used. We also have pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. Again, every tool is needed because depending on what you're trying to do and where you're trying to do it at, the lower the cost can go, the easier it is to pass it on to the end user.
I need a glossary of terms just to keep up with all this stuff.
It's something you learn after you repeat it over and over again. Yeah. So the acronyms help TIF and pilot and CDBG and it sounds like I'm speaking in a different language.
So
sometimes.
if a house starts at $400,000 and you begin to add all those tools from the toolbox to it, you're chipping away, at bringing the cost of the house down, so that it is affordable for someone whose income is somewhat limited.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And had it not been for these tools that both Metro has, both the state has, and there are even federal tools that can be used too, had it not been for those, what you'll see is a flood of what we call market rate projects. And those, while all in good, because you need a diversity of projects, what it does is it decreases the amount of stock that the teachers, the firefighters, the nurses, the people we depend on the most, the EMT workers.
Right, first responders.
Your first responders, everybody that we need the most, what it does is it just puts them in a deeper and deeper bind. And what we'll have is people not willing to stay here and love the city that we all love too.
Okay, well, we're gonna take another break. Time flies when we're having fun.
Sounds good.
So we're gonna take another break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Aron Thompson about the Real Estate Developers Academy, also known as the R.E.D Academy program, and how the newest cohorts have been doing up to this point. Welcome back to Urban League Live. We're here with Aron Thompson, Director of the Real Estate Developers Academy for the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, talking about successful programs in real estate. So Aron, you're training individuals how to be, or BIPOC developers, how to be successful real estate developers over an 18-month period. What does that look like?
Sure. So R.E.D Academy is an accelerator program. It basically takes where developers, emerging developers are, and helps accelerate that growth with the focus on scale. So it's 18 to 20 month program. We have 5 modules: business, foundations, law and policy, construction, and sustainability. And we give them the knowledge, we give them mentorship, and then there's also some pre-development capital on the back end.
Well, I hear you talk about 3-legged stool a lot.
Yep.
And so technical know-how training is one leg of the stool.
Yep.
What's the other two?
The mentorship. One of our advisors likes to say, has a T-shirt to show for it, right? So that means they've done it before. They've seen some things, and they're able to share with the developers going through the program. Like, hey, maybe you look at it this way, or maybe this tool is better to use than that tool. So that's very important. And then the last tool is the finance piece. It's the pre-development capital. Our sponsor was so great to be able to give us dollars that actually go towards, because in theory, which a lot of times we go through programs and schooling, right, and everything's in theory, but to be able to go practice that, you need something, you need a resource behind you that can push, and that's where that pre-development capital comes in. That is that resource tool that you can actually leverage to actually do the work it is that you've been learning in the program.
Wow, so they're learning a lot, they're getting networks, they get access to capital. And so what has been some of the successes? What's the impact that they're having in real time, boots on the ground?
So we are in cohort number 2. Cohort number 1 graduated in December of 2023. We're in cohort number 2 right now, and roughly about 900 units of affordable housing are in the pipeline for Davidson County.
Oh, wow.
From cohort 1 and 2. We took that and leveraged our program costs and leveraged that, and project total was leveraging over $300 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And so just from those 23 entities going through the program, they were able to catalyze, which just means they were able to leverage the money and the pre-development that they got from the program and leverage that to a tune of over $86 million.
So that's impact back into the neighborhood,
Absolutely.
Right? But then the other side of that coin is workforce, which we don't really talk about
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah.
But to have over $300 million worth of real estate development going back into the pipeline, to develop the pipeline of housing is huge.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Right.
And it truly is an accelerator program. I like to say sometimes that we're taking your 5-year business plan and we're trying to see if we can make it happen in 18 months.
Wow.
Right, so most of the developers coming into the program, we're doing anywhere between 5 to 10 units per year. After R.E.D Academy, they're upwards of 70.
Wow, so they go from 5 units a year to upwards of 70 plus a year.
Yeah.
That's a huge leap.
It's a huge leap. And we know that, and these are all small businesses, so this is not some huge corporation, these are small businesses. And we know that small businesses, most of the time, work with small businesses, right? So speaking to your workforce thing, if there's another small business out there that is in the construction or building field, then they can leverage that because they now have a pipeline, right? Somebody who looks like them, talks like them, from the neighborhood that they're from, can now then start to do work of scale and size. That goes on their resume. And guess what they can do? They can leverage that to increase their more workforce, right? And pay people that livable wage that we've been talking about.
And grow their business.
And grow their business.
Which is a different aspect of the work that Urban League does in small business development.
Absolutely.
So before we end up though, I hear that you may have an opportunity to take this nationwide. Is that true?
I think somebody's been putting a plug into National's ear. But yeah, it's exciting to know that what we started here in Nashville, people are starting to take notice throughout the rest of the United States. And anything that we can do to help our communities build for themselves, by themselves, with themselves, I think is a beautiful thing. And we have to figure out a way in order to do that in cities that, you know, that are just like Nashville or smaller or bigger even, right? Because the need is there. Again, we talked about it earlier. Housing's not a Nashville issue, it's a nation issue.
Well, cool. You know, we just got started and we're already out of time.
Oh, man.
So we're going to have you come back and go into detail. And next time we'll have you bring a couple of the cohorts.
That sounds wonderful.
All right. All right. So you can follow the R.E.D Academy on R.E.D Academy. So thanks so much and all for joining us today, Aron, and we appreciate the time that you have spent with us. I want to share with you and all some things to look for in the future that's coming up that the Urban League is hosting by way of our workforce development workshops this month. The first will be held on March the 5th at noon. And the second interview, they'll be about interview techniques, and the second one will be on March the 19th, I believe it is, with soft skills training. So, and then March the 26th, we'll have hotel hiring fair from 11 to 1 p.m. And these are the events that will take place at the Urban League of Middle Tennessee office in Metro Center. So, I'll see you next time on Urban League Live.